I often try to think about the work that we do in this way. People say, what needs to be done? Like, what needs to be done? How can we help these kids? And the answer is, well, look at your own family. What have you done for the kids in your family? Well, that's what needs to happen for these kids. So Amy's organization, Georgia Appleseed, other organizations, we are in the business of trying to provide for the kids what a functioning, tight-knit family would do.
Right.
Right. And that's how the best way to think about what these kids need.
Mm-hmm. She shared both of the websites that you mentioned. Are there any success stories in either organizations with the kids or families that you can share?
Oh, that's sure. What keeps us going. So how long do you have? If we didn't have success stories, I don't think one of us would have gone to work somewhere else.
Yeah, we could just kind of ping pong about this. So on the individual level, so Amy can tell you lots of stories individually. We have, my stories are sort of individual, caregiver, adult advocacy, and then getting laws passed and things like that. For us, an individual case, we had one just the other day. This is kind of a dramatic case. I have to be careful about the details because these are sort of, we have confidentiality requirements and all that kind of thing. But we had a kid who was going to be kicked out of school for a very long period of time. So well over a year. And I just sort of think about that for a second. So if you're kicked out of school for a year, what's the likelihood that you're going to come back and succeed?
Whole grade.
Right. Like that you're going to come back and succeed and end up graduating. So a kid that gets kicked out for any length of time, any period of time, one single suspension reduces the child's chance, or it's correlated with reduction in the child's chance of graduating by 12 percentage points. So you went from 84% chance of graduating, kind of the average, a little higher maybe last year in Georgia. Now you drop down to low 70s. According to the Department of Education, by the way, I'll just say if it's 9-day suspension, this is a study they did a few years ago in middle school. So in middle school, your chances of graduating drop to 50% or so. Wow. So these are sort of significant. But we had a child, youngish middle school child who really had to use the bathroom really badly. It was in a forum event or something at school. I can't remember exactly what it was, maybe lunchtime. I don't know. Wasn't able to access the bathrooms. And so found a space to do it in a hallway. Right. Okay, so child's going to be kicked out for a year or so of school. Parent came to us. We worked with them. We represented the child. Child went right back to school.
How old was he? Or if you can't say.
Middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah. So that gives you that kind of shares with you an example of what this looks like. Sometimes all you need is an adult to walk into the room. A trained adult can be a parent who we've trained or who's used our training resources online, or we've actually done one-on-one coaching with. It can be an attorney, but to come in and just kind of shake everybody up a little bit, make them sit back and realize like, oh yeah, this wasn't about defiance. This was just a young child who just needed to go to the bathroom really bad and couldn't figure it out. Made a choice. And so is this really the reason that you want a kid to be out of school for a year?
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So those kind of cases come in pretty frequently. And sometimes we have serious cases too, where kids have serious behavioral challenges, have done something, serious and dangerous. And so the solution we're looking for there is different, right? So we're also working with those kids too. And those kids often come from places where they've had profound challenges or just bad things happen to them. So you have to deal with that. I'll also lift up another partner, the Safety Valve Project in Savannah. They work with kids in similar types of situations that have really serious backgrounds that really need to be understood in order to help them. So that's another partner for folks to kind of look up. On the policy level, I'll just say last year, a big victory for us, but I think also for the state and legislators was HB 286, which was the response to the Appalachia school shooting. So after that tragic shooting last year, we received dozens and dozens and dozens of referrals for kids who were going to be kicked out of school for perceived or alleged threats. The schools across the state, obviously, were trying to cope with this, and people were very afraid for good reasons. And sometimes schools went too far into kind of a zero tolerance mode. And we had kids who were being kicked out of school for just kind of normal kid behavior, sort of pointing your finger like a gun at another kid and saying bang, or saying that you turn your friend to a piece of cheese. And no one knows exactly if that's a real threat or not. And so they kicked the kid out of school. Well, when we went and met with lawmakers as they were trying to figure out what to do, we helped them craft a bill that has additional spending for mental health in schools. It has incorporates a way and works with state agencies. Schools can work with state agencies to figure out whether or not what a child said was actually a threat or represented themselves or others before taking drastic action, and some other measures as well. So that's a recent success. And I'll say the lawmakers were particularly moved when we could go and say, hey, let us tell you a story about a child in your district, in your district. And lawmakers, they care about their constituents. So that mattered a lot. And they paid a lot of attention to that. We also went to them, we're a data-driven organization, and said, why don't we talk about solutions that are actually supported by data, that have been tried in other jurisdictions where tens of thousands of cases we've used this system for assessing whether or not a threat is really a threat or not.
Yeah.
Let's do that instead of trying out something new or criminalizing kids.
Right.
And I think to their credit, they listened and they were looking for that kind of evidence. And so we got a good outcome.